I never thought I'd be the one to pull back the curtain on my own family, but here I am, typing this out because I can't sleep anymore. Not properly, at least. I guess I should start with the basics. I'm 26 years old, live on the outskirts of Chicago, and I work as a mechanic. Nothing fancy, but it pays the bills. I have a sister, Molly, who's 23 and finishing her degree in education. Our parents, Tom and Linda, are both still alive and together, and from the outside looking in, we're your average middle-class family. Or at least that's what I thought. There's one thing, though. One person who always seemed like a missing puzzle piece we weren't supposed to ask about, my mom's older brother, Derek. Uncle Derek was the kind of name you only heard when someone slipped up. Like, once I was helping Mom organize boxes in the attic, and I found an old photo album. Most of the pictures were the usual stuff: birthdays, holidays, vacations we took when we were little. But tucked away near the back were a few photos of a young man with dark eyes and a quiet smile, standing beside my mom at what looked like her high school graduation. I asked her who it was, and she just said, "That's nobody," and took the album out of my hands. I was maybe 11 at the time, and I didn't push it. But I remembered the name, Derek. A few years later, when I brought it up again during a family barbecue, asking my dad if he knew who Derek was, he tensed up and just said, "That's a part of the family we don't talk about." And that was it. A dead end. From that point on, Derek became a ghost in the house, not literally, but a kind of haunting silence. You'd see it in my mom's eyes whenever someone accidentally mentioned an old memory, or in the way my grandmother would suddenly excuse herself from the room if someone brought up the past. Even my grandpa, who I was really close with growing up, would just shake his head and mutter something like, "Let sleeping dogs lie." I guess I let it lie for a long time, too. That was until a couple months ago, when Grandpa passed away. It wasn't sudden, exactly. He'd been in and out of the hospital for a while with heart problems. The funeral was quiet, just close family, and honestly kind of depressing. I'd always thought he'd be one of those tough old guys who somehow lived forever, you know. But life doesn't work like that. After the funeral, we went back to my grandmother's house for the typical post-burial gathering: finger sandwiches, awkward small talk, people trying not to cry in the hallway. At one point, I slipped away upstairs. I wasn't snooping, really. I just wanted a minute alone, away from the fake smiles and plastic cups of sweet tea. That's when I found it. In the top drawer of Grandpa's old desk, the one nobody touched, there was a stack of letters bound together with a brittle rubber band. I probably shouldn't have, but I took them. Stuffed them in my jacket and read them when I got home that night. The letters were from Derek. And they were addressed to my mom. They spanned nearly a decade, from when I was about 6 until I turned 16. Every few months, a new one. Typed, signed in pen. Each one more desperate than the last. The early ones were almost hopeful. He'd write about living in Michigan, working construction jobs, trying to get clean. Later ones were darker, filled with regret and apologies. He kept asking for forgiveness. Kept asking if he could talk to my mom. Kept saying he missed his little sis. There was one letter where he mentioned me and Molly by name. Said he hoped he could meet us someday. I couldn't believe it. All these years, we'd been told he basically didn't exist. But here he was, practically begging to be let back in. I didn't know what to do. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept hearing my mom's voice in my head, "That's nobody." So I confronted her. I waited until Sunday dinner, a tradition in our family since forever. Roast chicken, potatoes, and way too much garlic bread. Mom had just finished clearing the plates when I asked her to sit down. I pulled the letters out of my backpack and put them on the table between us. At first, she didn't say anything. She just stared at them, like they were radioactive. Then she whispered, "Where did you get these?" I told her the truth. That I found them in Grandpa's desk. That I read them. That I had questions. She looked like she aged 10 years in 5 seconds. She started crying, not loudly, but quietly, like she'd been holding it in for decades. She said, "You don't know what he did, Jake. You don't know what he put us through." I asked her to tell me. She didn't want to. But eventually, she did. Uncle Derek had been the golden child once. Smart, charming, athletic. The kind of guy who could do anything, and for a while, he did. He got a scholarship, moved out of state, started a promising career in finance. But somewhere along the way, he got involved with drugs. Not just casual use. Full-blown addiction. Heroin. He started lying, stealing, disappearing for months. Then one summer, when I was maybe 4, he came home. Said he was clean. Said he wanted to rebuild. My grandparents took him in. My mom didn't trust him, but they begged her to give him a chance. And for a while, it seemed like maybe he was turning things around. Until the night my mom got home and found my sister, Molly, missing. She was only 2 at the time. My dad was working late. Mom had left her with Derek for an hour while she ran to the store. When she came back, both of them were gone. She said it was the worst 3 hours of her life. No note. No phone call. Just silence. She was about to call the police when Derek finally returned, holding Molly, stoned out of his mind. He told her he'd just taken her to the park. But Molly's clothes were dirty, her face was scratched, and she wouldn't stop crying. My mom slapped him. Screamed at him to leave. Called my grandparents. Called my dad. That was the last time she saw him. She told me the police got involved, but nothing came of it. There was no clear crime, no proof of harm. Just a brother who couldn't be trusted, and a family that decided it was safer to cut ties completely. I sat there, stunned. I mean, yeah, I understood why she was angry. Why she kept it all locked up. But part of me still couldn't reconcile the man in those letters with the image she painted. Was it possible both versions were real? Then she dropped one more bomb. He's still alive. He's been living in Indiana, last I heard. But don't go looking for him, Jake. Please. So of course, I went looking. I didn't tell her. I told Molly, though. She deserved to know. Surprisingly, she was curious too. She had no memory of what happened. Just foggy dreams and a vague sense of fear she could never explain. We found him 3 weeks later. A little help from social media, a few public records, and one lucky DM to a guy who worked at a halfway house in Indiana. Said Derek stayed there off and on. Gave us an address. So I drove. Just me. It felt like something I had to do alone. He looked older than I expected. Thinner. His hair was gray at the edges, and he had the kind of tired eyes that spoke volumes. But when he opened the door and saw me, just saw me, he knew who I was. "Jake," he said. I nodded. He cried. We sat for hours. He didn't deny anything. He didn't make excuses. He said he was an addict. Said he was selfish. Said he didn't even remember parts of that night, but that he never meant to hurt anyone. He just wanted to feel normal for one day. And he thought taking Molly to the park would give him that, some piece of innocence. He told me he'd been clean for 5 years. Said he was working at a thrift store now, renting a small room behind a church. He said he wrote those letters every time he hit a new low. That writing to Mom was the only thing that made him feel like he hadn't completely disappeared. I left torn in two. On one hand, I saw the pain he caused. On the other, I saw a man who had been crushed by his own choices, and who had tried, really tried, to make amends. I didn't know what to tell my mom. I still don't. I haven't told her I met him. I told Molly, though. She wants to meet him too. Maybe she will. Maybe someday. What I do know is that family isn't always clean, or simple, or easy to define. Sometimes, the people we try hardest to forget are the ones who need remembering the most, not because they deserve forgiveness, but because we deserve the truth.